this evening, Chad Stewart. You talk about a guy that's put his hand to the plow and is working very hard to bring some sanity, if you will, to this entire globe. Chad, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you. It's exciting to be here. I'm very excited to be on your show.
Well, Chad, for the benefit of our global audience, would you be kind enough to share with them who you are, where you are, and what you're doing? I got to tell you, I've read some of your work, and it's fascinating, absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, originally from Newport Beach, California, Southern California. I was back east for about 16 years. I did my undergraduate in British literature, European history, and then went on to grad school, and then I was actually an investment banker in downtown Boston for years. And about 12 years ago, I got this idea for this book, Britfield and the Lost Crown, when I was at one of these really boring webinars, and I started to drift and I started to doodle. And I went home that weekend, and on one piece of paper, I kind of just started to outline the story about two orphans, Tom and Sarah. It takes place in England, present time, up at Yorkshire, Northern England, at this horrible orphanage called Weatherly. And Tom's been an orphan his whole life. He's been at Weatherly for 6 years, and this is the year he breaks out. But he's not going anywhere without his best friend, Sarah. And somewhere along the lines, they commandeer a hot air balloon to start flying all over England. And they're chased relentlessly by the illustrious Detective Gowerstone. And that was kind of just the gist of it. And I thought it just sounded kind of fun. And so I sat down and started to write it. And it took me 4 years, 2,500 hours to write book one. And it took over 10 years from concept and idea to actually launching it officially in August 2019. Since then, it's become a national and global bestseller. It's one of the most awarded books in children's fiction, which is extraordinary. We can talk about that. And it's become part of a 7-book series. So we launched Britfield and the Rise of the Lion, book 2, which takes place in France 2 years ago. And then just last year, we launched Britfield and the Return of the Prince. You can see the poster behind me. Kind of exciting. It takes place in Italy. And so it's just a very, very dynamic, fast-paced, fun adventure series. I think what's great about it is it's based on family, friendship, loyalty, courage, faith. And it takes place in present time. I think as children are reading and as adults are reading it, they're learning about geography, history, art, architecture, and culture. And it really fosters the 4 C's, which is creativity, critical thinking, communication, and collaboration. I don't use anything suspended fiction, if you will, where you have magic or witchcraft or demigods or superheroes. It all takes place in real locations, current time. And when they're faced with problems, they got to figure out how to face these problems. They come up with solutions. They talk, they collaborate. Sometimes they have the right answers and they succeed. Sometimes they fail and they learn from their mistakes. And so it's just been an amazing, engaging series. Our youngest reader is 7. Our oldest reader is 93 years old. We've had 12-year-olds that have read it in 5 hours. It's part of really a global movement now. We're in the development stages of the first Britfield and Lost Crown movie, and this is the first script right here, first draft script. Just received that a couple of months ago. We're excited, and we anticipate that the movie will be one of the highest-grossing films in cinematic history. And just the other day, I was actually thinking that I think we're going to break all box office records with Britfield and the Lost Crown movie, and we can talk about that if you want to. So what we're really trying to do is we're trying to bring things back to or center things back on reality, number one, and family values, and really just introduce children back to just good literature, great literature that doesn't have all this nonsense and agenda-oriented stuff. We're developing 2 television programs right now, and we launched Britfield and Lost Crown theatrical play last October, and globally this February, specifically for elementary, middle school, and high schools. And so we took the 400-page story and got it into a 90-minute theatrical play, and it's an actor's play. It's not a musical, which alienates 90% of the audience. Or kids that want to get into theater. It's got roles for over 30 students and stuff. So that's kind of a quick overview, but it really turned in from an idea into a global movement into the next quarter of a century of my life, and we're excited. So I'm writing book 4 right now. So,
Chad, in a day and age when parents are being overwhelmed and inundated with pure garbage, I call it garbage because that's
yes.
what it is. The woke agenda here in the States and Canada and around the globe, every time a parent goes to look for a book, the agenda is there, okay? The indoctrination is there. Look, you really rang a bell with me when you mentioned in your discussion with me, you articulated faith, family, God. We need that. We need that badly. And I've shared with people around the country that it all begins at home with mom and dad, at the school level, etc. So my question to you is this: is this book, all right? Is this book available for parents? As to what grade level would you suggest? And would you articulate once again, because we cannot overemphasize what you just said. It seems to me it's going to pull children away from that garbage, and because they're not being exposed to it anywhere, nowhere at all, believe me. And it could be in the home, and you've got the tool right there, the tool that parents have been looking for to make it exciting and drawing children in. The stories absolutely draw you in.
Yeah, and it's interesting when we launched in 2019, August 2019. Our main focus was schools, and so I started a 2.5 year school tour. I drove 9,000 miles. I visited 23 states, 23 states, and presented at over 200 schools in front of more than 40,000 students. And so we came in there and talked a little bit about Britfield and creativity and the importance of creativity and writing. And so, yeah, Britfield and Lost Crown is actually already in thousands of schools across the United States. Praise be to God for that. It's already been adapted into hundreds of schools into the reading curriculum. We have an 83-page study guide for free for teachers and homeschoolers, because it's, to teach Britfield and Lost Crown, in the schoolroom, at home, in the classroom. It's designed to be taught as a classic. It's, chapter by chapter. It's got vocabulary. It's got all those wonderful things. And so that's always been our beachhead. We've collaborated with one of the largest retailers in the United States. They're in 55,000 schools, and they picked Britfield and Lost Crown about 18 months ago. They picked this book as their #1 middle school book, and they've been around for like 30 years. So that's amazing. And they get thousands of requests a year. And it's interesting. The gentleman, their book buyer, Stefan, I talked to him a couple months ago, and they're running like new programs now and kind of branching out into thousands of schools with this new program. And they represent about 60 different books. I mean, we're talking all the books, all the major publishers. And he said we had complaints from all the parents and teachers for all the books except Britfield. I just thought, wow, that's pretty cool. So they're just getting ready to do a huge purchase order, about 50, 100,000 bind ups. This is book 1 and 2, which is kind of cool. So this is the entire book. And what's neat about the book is that it's, you asked me about the age range. So book 1, Tom and Sarah are 12. Book 1 is 384 pages. And so it's really kind of geared towards that middle school. Our youngest reader's been 7, but I'd almost say kind of like your 9 to 12, 9 to 13-year-old for book 1, Britfield and Lost Crown. But what's great about book 2, Britfield and the Return of the Prince, Britfield and the Rise of the Lion, takes place in France. This is 474 pages. Tom and Sarah are now 13 years old. And so this is a lot more intense. They're a little bit older. And as you know, at that age, from 12 to 13, I always say it's like a decade, because kids progress very quickly at that age, and they're very different. They don't like to necessarily read down, but they like to read up. And then book 3, which we just launched in September of last year, is just 575 pages. And now Tom and Sarah are 14 years old and takes place in Italy. And so that's what I'm doing through the whole series. So I'm really starting at middle school and ending in young adult. I think book 2 is sort of our bridge from elementary to young adult. And then book 3 is definitely young adult, 14. I had one wonderful review from a 14-year-old high school student. She's 14. She's in Virginia, and she said, she goes, I just got done with book 3. She goes, I love the whole series. She goes, you're now up there with Lord of the Rings. And I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. And we just had some really great comments and feedback. We received hundreds, if not thousands, of replies, emails. So it's just been a really, really great book. So it's interesting. We also have the audio version. And so I think it's a great book for parents. Like if you have a 5 or 6 or 7-year-old, you'll have to sort of read it and gauge it for yourself and where they're at. But it's a great book to read. And I know a lot of parents that will read it. I know some parents that can't wait for the next book to come out, and they sit around and read a chapter a night, and they do the different characters. I mean, it's just really cool. I know another family that emailed us and said, we've now created the Britfield board game. I thought, how cool is that? Like, what does that look like? And so it's really been interesting. It's really fostering what I would hope it to do. It's fostering creativity. It's fostering ideas. Kids are kind of writing their own little books now, or doing really beautiful drawings of the different scenes throughout England in book 1 and stuff. And we're just having major impact. So So it really depends. Yeah. So that's how it's gauged, though. And then it goes around the world. So book 4 is going to be in Eastern Europe, starts in Vienna, ends in Russia. Book 5 will be in Asia. Book 6 will be in South America. And then book 7 will be in the United States. And so at the end of book 7, Tom and Sarah are now 18 years old. So we've traveled around the world, current time, real places, real history, real architecture, real culture. So it's kind of just a one, and 55% of our reading audience are adults. So
Why Britfield?
yeah, just a cool name that I sort of made up about 10 years ago. You know, like
It is.
I like.
Let me interrupt a minute.
Yeah,
it is. I got to tell you, when I have the book, I said, look at this. I mean, Britfield. What is it? That draws you in. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, and it's funny too because I've had some of my friends who've read it, you know, and they really enjoyed it, and they're like, and you know, and we incorporate. I mean, what is Britfield, right? Britfield and Lost Crown, and that's kind of the hint. And the Lost Crown means a sense of royalty, right? So there's something about Britfield and lost royalty, and I don't want to give anything away, but it's sort of an ancient royal family from England, and we tie in all the different history and the different centuries of history. And I've had parents that say, "Is Britfield real?" And but it's really just a name that I made up, and we've trademarked it and copied right everything and stuff like that. But it's fun. It's fun to make up names. I do that with some of my characters, like there's Professor Hainsworth and Gower Stone and the Grievases. And I was definitely influenced by Charles Dickens. He's probably one of my favorite authors and writers. I mean, he was prolific. He was incredible. He had an amazing way of creating engaging real stories with a Shakespearean cast of characters from all these different walks of life. And somehow, as you're reading the story, they all sort of, come together at the end, and they all know each other and somehow are connected. And it's just amazing. So I was very influenced by him, by his characters. And we try to figure out a way, like, what is Britfield in today's society in the sense of what category would it go in? And I don't know, because I'm a big C.S. Lewis fan, but again, that's suspended reality. That's the world of Narnia. And then there's Tolkien, Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. But again, that's kind of this post-apocalyptic mystical world. And so I think in some ways Dickens is one of the closest, because he wrote fictional books based on real locations, real characters, real people he knew. In fact, he got in trouble quite often, because if there's like this nasty lawyer, it's actually a nasty lawyer that he knows, and they'll read the story and they say, that's me, you know what I mean? Like, but it was great. And I think that's what engaged the audience, that it was real. It wasn't, it was real places, real locations, mostly London and stuff. So,
Chad, one of the things we do at Campaign for America, obviously we're a secular nonprofit organization, but one thing I promised God was that He was never going to take the back seat to what we're doing. We're one of the few, if maybe the only one in the United States, broadcast that is, that will have a discussion about the spirituality, the biblical perspectives that people bring to the forefront of any issue, especially in these days and ages, this day and age. And I'm listening to you, and I'm realizing that, perhaps I believe we all have a calling. This no doubt, to me at least, is your calling. Absolutely. From God. But I have concluded just by listening to you that God's using you to plant seeds. I mean, especially in young people. I mean, and those seeds, you seem to not only have created a seed with the first book, but you're watering it as time goes on. And so I must tell you that He's given you in this time, in the period of history that we are living, with a great spiritual war. I believe we're in a great spiritual war, other than a political war, military, economic, but it's a great spiritual war. But I think God's given you the ability to give parents, especially, the tools they need in order to say, hey, look, this is what you need to learn: God, family, faith. Now, are there any biblical principles that you have used in your stories? I'm curious about that, because you mentioned the other authors, and not really reality, but yours is reality.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I mean, it's designed for all audiences, all demographics, and all countries, but it really is based on those sort of biblical principles, one could say. And it's in there if you read it, and we dive a little bit deeper in book 2 and book 3, and it just naturally starts to come out. I'm not preaching to the choir and stuff, and it really just anchors it into family values, real family values, biblical family values. If you want to go down that road, but it's not sort of the it's very similar to Lewis and what Lewis did with Narnia.
Yeah, not preachy, not preach. I get it. I get it.
Not at all, no. And so anyone from any faith, any background can read it, but it's anchored in that. And my focus, I mean, I know we're like in this flashover substance, complete comical nonsense movie right now, United States and globally. And it's hard. We all get distracted. And I think it's really important. Number one, I think we're all gifted. Absolutely. God has given us all gifts and wonderful gifts. He's given us talent. We're all born creative. So whether you feel that you're creative or not, you are creative. Often we get sidetracked. We have to do a job we don't want to do and stuff. And we sort of lose that creativity. And so our focus is Britfield and staying on point and not being distracted over here or there or doing what we shouldn't be doing or trying to do all things to all people. We're focused on Britfield. We're focused on the schools. We're focused on the elementary and middle schools specifically to really engage our next generation of children and readers into these types of good principles and critical thinking and independence and creativity and collaboration, communication, entrepreneurship, that freedom, that sense of adventure. I remember a friend of mine, her daughter Iris, read book one like 3 or 4 times. It's like her favorite book. She read it a couple of years ago, and Barbara's her name, and she goes, my daughter just now turned her whole room into an adventure room. And I thought, based on Britfield Lost Crown, I thought, how cool is that? A lot better to turn your room into an adventure room, probably with, like maps and posters of different countries, than a room of witchcraft. You know what I mean? And so really, we are absolutely the opposite of Harry Potter, but we will outsell Harry Potter in 10 years. That's my statement. We will outsell Harry Potter in 10 years. This is what the world needs. This is what the world wants. There's an 80% gap for family-focused, family-valued books right now that is not being filled, that cannot be filled. And if you said there's 10 other, writers out there that are doing it, I'd say, fantastic. Put me in touch with them so I can help them, because you cannot create enough good content. And so that's why we know for a fact that the movie, I just had that sense. We follow the box office. I've got a great producer team, and I just spoke with them last week. I'll talk to them again this week. We're in collaboration all the time. We're putting together a team. If everything goes well, we'll be in pre-production by the end of fall. And the first Britfield and the Lost Crown movie could be launched December 2024 if everything goes well. But right now, again, too, in any media, especially like the film, what's out there? It's either these superhero, ridiculous, agenda-focused movies, $300 million budget movies with another $200 million into it, or nothing. There's no middle market anymore. When's the last time you've seen like a Blind Side? Just a feel-good movie that knocks the ball out of the park. There's nothing out there. And so I think Britfield's going to come out, and I think it's going to be like a Titanic moment, like a Star Wars moment for the film industry, because finally there's a really good, fun, exciting, fast-paced, family-focused movie that is totally entertaining, but nothing's compromised. There's no agenda. And kids are going to see it 5, 6, 7 times. Parents are finally going to be able to take their kids out. Grandparents can take their grandkids. And so we're excited.
I have an idea. And when I use that phrase to people working with me here at Campaign for America, they say, oh, no, we got enough work we're doing. Now what is he thinking about? So here's an idea, and I want to bounce this off you.
Sure.
We have, unfortunately, across this country, and I'm sure others, and a lot of parents and others have written me about it, unfortunately, whether you call them drag queen story hours or this story hour, that story, a lot of fake nonsense, political stuff that's designed to target children. Now, here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that maybe one of the things we can do, and I say maybe because we're so overwhelmed, I don't know if we can do it, but the idea is there. And sometimes, I'm going to say all the time, when I get an idea, we do it. I'm thinking of, even with the technology we have with Zoom, to have some parents maybe have a story hour with their children via Zoom, if not physically. And I would encourage them to get in touch with us, buy the book, but then have a good articulate person read it to kids, whether it be on Zoom or whatever. What do you think of that?
I love it. I think it's a great idea. It's like everybody is quick to complain, and I think what you just mentioned that's happening right now is disgusting. It's nonsense, and it needs to be shut down. And there's plenty of people out there that can do it, and the time has come now. The line has been crossed, to say the very least. And I also think a reckoning is coming for the nonsense that's happening right now in the schools. And yeah. I really fear for the people that are behind their agendas, because it's gonna get really, really ugly for them really, really fast. Nobody's gonna. I was just doing what I was told, or the union told me, or I didn't want to lose my position. That's not going to fly anymore. I mean, you're. But anyway, I like your. I love your idea. I think it's great. It's interesting too, because when the thing had happened in 2020, we were on part of our tour. I was in Memphis, Tennessee. I was finally in the Midwest. I was excited because I was going to be driving up to Chicago and Ohio and New England, March 2020, when this whole thing happened and all the schools started shutting down. And so we switched over to Zoom school presentations, which was pretty cool. I mean, it's kind of hard because nothing beats being in front of an auditorium of 300 kids and presenting and then doing book signings and talking to them and having fun. But we adjusted and we adapted to that, and I think everyone is Zoom savvy now, right? I mean, 2 years ago, not so much. Now everyone's, and so it's great. We did our first international school in Australia last year. How cool is that? It was like 16 and a half hours ahead of us, so it was like the next day. But I was like just talking to you right now, and I was presenting to the classroom or the school. And it was really cool. So I love the idea. I think it's great, and I'm saying all that to say, we need it's great to put a front up for it and not allow it at the school. And if you have to find, there's plenty of lawyers out there, there's plenty of legal teams, there's plenty of faith-based legal teams that can come in and shut these things down. And if that's what you're called to, that's great. But the difference is do something, counter it with something. That's why, I could sit here and complain about all the filth and the books that are in Barnes and Noble and all the other bookstores out there, just crap, like you said, or spend 10,000 hours and create a movement. And I'm not saying that's for everybody, but that's what I'm doing. I'm not complaining about the books. I'm presenting. I'm creating something that's alternative. Yeah.
Well, here's what I'd like to do. I read something where I think Charles Spurgeon had mentioned. I every morning at 4 or 5 o'clock, I'm up and I'm reading Spurgeon, and he mentioned something where we do have a responsibility to God to pass on what we've learned to the next generation, and to hope to God that they hear it and that they go down a path of righteousness, if you will. But here's what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about getting in touch with, at least me locally here, with some of our parent-teacher organization presidents. And I want to share with them any promotional material you can send me. This is important, okay?
Yeah.
And at least locally, what I want to do is get them on board, if I can, all right, to have a story hour, all right? And you're absolutely right. Nobody could shut us down, but they could shut down Public School Net, but they can't shut Campaign for America down. And the people listening, we've got thousands and thousands of people listening. Well, here's your chance. What I'd like you to do, I'm going to put up our email, okay? Let's see, here it is. I want you to email us to our website, and please let me know if you are interested in two things. One, reading, all right, reading the stories to children, or two, if you could have some children attend a story hour. We'll use our technology here. By the way, there's no charge, as you know, for anything we do. And all we have to do is encourage you to go out and buy the book, okay? And then encourage parents to buy their children the book. And then maybe that way, folks, here it is, your opportunity to counteract all of that. Chad, I couldn't say it any better. All of that we're complaining about. All people do is complain, and then they want solutions. Well, here goes a solution. I mean, a real good solution. What do you think of that, Chad?
Love it. I absolutely love it. Yeah, I mean, and you'll mention it, later, but our website, Britfield.com, BRITFELED, Britfield.com. We have like 400 pictures. What's great about the award-winning website was designed to complement the book. And so if you're doing like a book study, even with your kids, or you're doing it in the classroom, or you want to do this reading hour or book hour, go to the website. We have over 400 pictures of England, all the places that this takes place. We have interactive maps. We have over 100 pages of information. And so our website's kind of a great resource for that. Also, what I'll do is I will send you a Britfield PDF study guide. I'll email you today.
And any promo material would be important.
Yeah.
Now, hold on. I want you to look at what I'm posting here, and I want to make sure the spelling is right, okay? Hold on one there, okay? Is this your website?
That's it. Perfect.
Good. Oh, I missed the COM. Hold on. Let me go.
Oh, you did.
That's because I don't have my glasses on, folks. Hold on. Here we go. All right. So there's Chad's website, folks. I really encourage you to go there. Of course, anytime you want to button the work, there we go. Let's see. I encourage you to go to Chad's website, look it over, folks. And then, as I said, get in touch with us and we'll set something up. And Chad, if you don't mind, I want to keep you posted as to how this study,
Oh, please do. Yeah.
the story time. Well, I think I'll tell you what, there's story times for every unimaginable evil thing. And here we've got an opportunity now with this publication to say, you know what, this would be great.
Great about it too is that it's not this fantasy. You wave a wand to solve problems. It's like book one takes place in England, and so you're up in Yorkshire, and then you're down to Oxford and Windsor and London, and down to the south, down to Canterbury, and that's just book one, and it takes place all over England, and so it's fun to think about it and discuss it and all the things they face and the issues and the different characters, and it's just like I said, it's designed for a story hour. It's designed for a book reading or book class. It's designed to be taught. We have a huge impact in the homeschool market. I love the homeschool market. We're big fans of it. Yeah, it's gone from 5 million to 15 million people in 2 years, and growing. It is the new level of education. We right now are an educational reformation and a homeschool revolution, and it's exciting. And there's over 1,000 charter schools just in the United States. I mean, just in California. What does that tell you about California and the system? I mean, it's
wow. Well, when you're in the will of God, it's an amazing thing. We get ideas, and we pursue them. Some of them, I don't think anybody fails. I think everybody succeeds, even if they take an idea and it doesn't take root. But the fact of the matter is, when God's in it, I've got to tell you, it gets blessed. And obviously, your efforts have been blessed because you have included the King of Kings and all that you do. And I'm very happy about that. This is really fantastic.
One of my favorite Spurgeon quotes is he says, if you're called to the ministry, never stoop to be a king or queen.
I love it.
Right. Love it. And D.L. Moody is another one of my favorites. If you haven't read his biography, I highly recommend you read D.L. Moody's biography. I mean, his relatively uneducated, never went to, I don't think he finished high school. He didn't go to college, but God used him. And it's like, he brought millions to church and Christ, and amazing. So anyway, and I think he knew Spurgeon. I think he eventually went over to England and started that whole.
Well, one day we'll see those fellows. One day we will. Well, all right, Chad. So that wraps it up. This has been really exciting. I'll tell you, I enjoy it. And but you see, the good thing, what I like about the way the good Lord has guided us, if you will, with this broadcast, we not only identify problems, but we bring solutions. You brought a solution today, and maybe well, not maybe, but you brought a lot of answered prayer for parents to say, where do I lead my children? Show me thy way, teach me thy path, saith the Lord. Well, here we go. Any last things you want to say to our audience? By the way, thousands of people from Canada now watching you.
Yeah, I was going to shout out to my brothers and sisters in Canada. I love Canada. I love Canadians. I've traveled up there quite a bit, and it's just a great country, great people, and fight the good fight and keep the faith. And you guys are going through it and stuff. And and to England and Australia, New Zealand, we just sold a bunch of books, all three books to a huge bookstore in New Zealand. We sold big order to schools in Australia. We're having people in Japan, India, Italy, all over the world reading it right now. Our first Britfield and Lost Crown translation was in Poland, into Polish, and we're killing it right now. We're selling thousands of these books in Poland right now. And so if there's anyone from Poland that's listening, I can't wait to get there and tour your country.
Well, we just got letters. We've been working very hard to help the Canadian people preserve their freedoms and liberties. As you know, things are very bad up there. But saying that, I believe they're going to win that fight. But we had put a call out for people to simply write us and let us know that they're in support of the Canadian people. And within the 20,000 plus letters we received over the past 3 weeks, we've got a load of them from Poland, as well as 6 other countries. And they're still coming. Good stuff, huh? Good stuff. Well, Chad, that's it. I thank you. Can we have you on again in the future?
Yes, yeah, I love to bring up the updates with the movie, and
yes,
we're gonna start some global tours. We're hoping for an Eastern European tour, 8 to 10 countries over 2 months in the fall, if everything goes well, and an Asian tour, and so we've got a lot of plans.
And we'll give you an update on this story time. I really want to do this, folks. So more on that a little later. Chad, thanks so much, and God bless you. Thank you very much.
Welcome. Thank you.
All right, folks, what do you think of that, folks? So here's a guy that comes along, right? He gets a call from God, and all these years later, you know what? We're able to have him on the air, and he is an answer, I believe, an answer to the prayers of many people, especially parents. So here's your chance. Here's your opportunity. All right. So again, email us. Here's his website down there. Check him out again on his website. But email us if you're interested in conducting a story hour. We got the technology. We'll somehow get you on a Zoom here, and we'll get everybody involved. And you'll be the ones, instead of me talking, you'll be the ones reading that story. What do you think of that, folks? All right. Thank you, folks. I'll be back in a few minutes.